everybody, I'm Akasha and welcome to my channel, or if you're a subscriber, welcome back. So today I wanted to jump right into it. Coming to social media and YouTube, I had the intentions on sharing information that would elevate humanity, which was along the lines of uncovering truth in regards to our history, our spirituality, and things of that sort, which I still definitely am going to get to. But I had no idea that it was going to take a turn towards healing mother issues. But now, like as I take a step back and look at the bigger picture, there's no other better place to begin. Now, I just so happen to have a lot of experience in this area also. Now, our relationship with our mother is our first relationship, and it starts when we're still in the womb. She's our first teacher, she's our first friend, she's our first love. So our relationship with her sets the stage for our physical health, our cognitive abilities, our social skills, our emotional well-being, and this is just to name a few things. Basically, it's a major contributing factor to how we show up in the world, and it all begins with our mothers. And speaking to so many people, I find that this bond has been damaged, or in some cases, it's even non-existent, especially when we have so many different things working against us, like drugs, chemical imbalances, mental illnesses, domestic situations, and religious differences, and all kind of other things. However, healing this can fortify you and your foundation. It can make you stronger and make for a smoother transition into the next stages of elevation. Because remember, my main reason for being here is to help humanity with this elevation. And healing this relationship with our mothers is definitely something that makes for a smoother transition. And speaking from my experience, healing this relationship with your mother can be a very beautiful, fulfilling experience that can change the trajectory of your life. So with that being said, I have a lot of experience when it comes to healing mother issues, from, my mother not having that natural connection with me from birth, to seeking that connection with my own mother and being rejected, to seeking that connection with other older women and being rejected, to also dealing with a lack of a motherly connection, period, and getting to the root and healing that alone, to finally becoming what I needed for myself instead of seeking it outside of me, to releasing my expectations for a mother-daughter relationship altogether. I was just like that. To finally building a beautiful, healthy relationship with my mother. So yeah, I have been all around the world when it comes to mother-child relationships. So, and my mother and I, we've had several people who would observe our relationship now, and they're like, wow. And we're like, child, if you only knew what we've been through to get here. We put in that work. And at times it was just me, and it took time for her to come around, but I was fortunate enough where she eventually did. But yeah, it took work to get here. And so they would always tell us about their issues with their mothers, and we would share what worked with us, with them. And this is what I'm focusing on in this particular video, sharing what has worked for us time and time again. So jumping right into it, the first thing is to let go of what you think a good relationship with your mother should look like. That cookie cutter idea of what a relationship should look like with our mothers is oftentimes unrealistic, and it's just not how it is. So just like any other relationship, you may have your challenges, and that is okay. Your healed relationship might look different from our relationship, or it might look different from the next person's relationship. And, that's okay. So one of the main things that we have to deal with is the conflict resolution. Even trying to have a conversation with your mother, sometimes it's just explosive. So I wanted to get into different ways to set the stage, so that you can have this conversation. So, number one, make sure you pick the right time to have the conversation. I would do it when this person is in a decent mood. I would not start the conversation if they're in a bad mood, or if they're angry, or if they're tired. And you can do this by saying, hey, I really need to have an important conversation with you when you're not tired or busy. And, try to make sure you're not tired neither. You would be surprised how simply being energized versus being tired during this conversation can affect the outcome. Because when we're tired, we tend to be less patient, less understanding, and those are major ingredients to having a positive, constructive conversation. Number two, have a goal in mind before you start the conversation. In my experience, I've even stated my goal in the beginning and even see if they can agree that this is a common goal that we both want to accomplish from this conversation. For example, I would say, hey, I just really want to get in a place in our relationship where there's peace and healing. That's what I'm working toward. Or something to that effect, or whatever it is that your goal is for your relationship, for that conversation. Take it one step at a time. Just go one conversation at a time. Number 3, I would use I feel techniques, which is like when you do X, I feel Y. For example, when you yell at me, I feel small. And using this technique is not necessarily blaming that person, but it's also being honest about how you feel when they do a particular behavior. Because when we throw blame at them, it is easy for them to close up and get defensive because they feel like they have to shield themselves and defend themselves from attack. And another thing with this, try to keep your voice at a calm level, because I don't know about your relationships, but I know like when me and my mother in the beginning, when we would have conversations, they would be explosive, and then bad things would happen. So yeah, when you notice the volume starting to creep up, take deep breaths, release, take a pause, bring it back, and then move forward with the conversation. And it takes and shows strength when you're able to control those emotions. Number 4, so once you state what you don't like, also state what behavior you want to see. So for example, you say, I would love it if we would have calm conversations. Put that little tidbit in there. Number 5, and this is a big one, be open to accept responsibility for your own actions where it's due. So in other words, the other person may not be the only one who needs to change or reevaluate their stance in order for the relationship to come to a harmonious place. And trust, this is not always an easy pill to swallow, but by preparing yourself beforehand for the possibility of this, it can make it a little bit easier. And another thing that I always try to keep in mind is that everyone makes mistakes, and this can help you to release judgment. So, number 6, be open to criticism that is related to whatever you're talking about, but don't allow circumventing the issue that is being discussed. So, circumventing is when you have an issue at hand, but the other person, or it could be you too, but there might be other issues that's brought up that has nothing to do with this situation. So you want to talk about this, that, and that, and instead of dealing with the issue. And what happens is that there's a lot of time and energy wasted on putting out all these other little fires that has nothing to do with the main issue. So try to stick to the subject and just take notes of the other subjects. If they're valid, take note of them and tend to them at a later time or after you finish discussing the initial issue. Okay, so these next 2 are probably my most valuable tips, and these have worked absolute miracles in relationships that I thought were just dead and gone. Okay, so listen. And actually, that is the first thing, is to remember to listen. It is so important because sometimes when you are hearing words, sometimes you shut it off because you're already preparing for your counterattack. Just stop and listen. And the second part of that is one of the biggest tools that I've used to be able to do this is writing. So, and I actually purposely put this at the end because I didn't want people to take to writing before they listen to the other skills and then end up making a lot of those mistakes at the beginning. But anyways, write out a letter to your mother. And even when it comes to writing this letter, set the stage for yourself. It should be a time where you are at peace. You don't have any distractions. Shoot, even throw a couple candles on. Shoot, light you some incense. And just really sit down with yourself and pour out your heart onto this piece of paper. And use those same structures that I talked to you about. How you say, when you do X, I feel Y. Use that same structure. Try to avoid blaming, avoid the daggers, but really just pour out your emotions on this paper. Pour out how you feel, or pour out whatever it is that you need to say on this piece of paper, and in a constructive way. That way you can go back, make sure you don't miss anything. You can make sure you're not attacking, but you're clear with what you're having to say. And then what you do after you go over whatever it is that you read, then you present it to her during this conversation. You start the conversation off with this letter, and you just read it, and you ask, with all due respect, please just let me get through this letter. And then after I get through this letter, we can have a discussion about the letter. And so you go ahead and read through the letter. Now, the next part to that, make sure you have a pen and piece of paper for her. She can write down notes if she has anything to say, so that way she doesn't interrupt you. It's very important. After you do that, you get through your letter, and then she gets the chance to go through her notes to respond to the things that you said. And while she's responding, you take notes. Instead of jumping right in, write it down. And sometimes you might have to pause a little bit. And actually, me and my mother that was kind of like an icebreaker, because I would talk and she's like, hold up, you write that down? I'm like, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, and then I'd go further, and she's like, let me write it. So both of us are up here laughing, because we actually ended up doing that to each other while we was, responding. But yeah, so it can even be a little icebreaker to kind of release some of the tension in the atmosphere. So what this also does is it helps eliminate heated responses, or responses that's not thought out. Because sometimes when we're angry, we're upset, or when we're hurt, we say things that we don't necessarily mean. So yeah, try this technique. Let me know how it works for you, because like I said, it has worked miracles. So moving forward, just some afterthoughts that I was thinking of. Evaluate what you think, or what your idea is of a victory or success in this situation. So it may not always be, okay, I put everything out there and they agreed, they apologize, and yeah, we're just peachy. Let me just bring you back down to reality. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it might take a couple of conversations before you actually get somewhere. But I know, especially using that last technique, once you see that you can have a constructive conversation, it opens the way for more conversations to be had. So take it a little bit, a step at a time, and understand that that person may not always agree with everything that you have to say. They may not. And you might have a person who may not want to take accountability. We're going to get into a conversation about mothers who don't want to take accountability, or motherless children. We're going to be going all over the different scenarios that happen as we move forward. Actually, as you all give me feedback, we'll tackle it, and we'll figure out how we can come to a solution. Okay, so yeah, having a realistic goal as to what a success is important. Okay. And also, don't get discouraged if you end up having a conflict. It takes time. Okay? Even if it looks like it might be a setback, it takes time. Trust, me and my mother, we have had many setbacks, that even to the point to where you think, ain't nothing coming out of this. I'm good, deuces. You feel me? Trust, it can still work. But what is needed is time, so that both parties can reflect. Because sometimes, like I said, you can speak out of anger. Sometimes you really just need to think and reevaluate. And sometimes they might do things that they really don't know why they did it. They have to go down and dig deep and try to feel like, what the heck what was I thinking? And you might even, have situations like that. So give it time. Give it space to be able to do that. And remember to have patience, because just like with any wound, it takes time to heal. And with any seed, it takes time to grow. So allow your relationship the same time and grace. Okay. So I really hope this helps you all. Let me know how it works for you. And let me know in the comments if you've used these techniques before, or if you've gone through some healing with your mother. Share that with us, because I think other people sharing their experience of healing with their mothers can help encourage more healing within our communities. So yeah, if you found this video to be helpful, please like, share, and subscribe it, especially if you know somebody else who, might benefit for this video. Share this video with them. So thank you for your time, and until next time, peace.